Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the BedTech Show. We are your hosts, Ben and Ethan, and we're excited to bring you some awesome tech news here at bedtime. We're going to be doing something a little bit different today. We are going to be spending some time with each of you in the comments section with the articles that we have today. And we'll go ahead and get started with Microsoft laying off 1,900 Activision Blizzard employees and Xbox employees. It's been a hot topic that's been buzzing in the gaming world, and Microsoft has made the recent decision to lay off 1,900 employees. And there's a bit of a twist. I'm not just taking facts. We're not just going to be looking at this article, but we are going to be going into some of the comments that each of you have talked about. There's been quite a bit of conversation that has gone on through this, and Microsoft laying a significant number of employees, and looks like based on the comments that the gaming community is in the uproar. And it's really interesting to see how everyone is reacting to this news. And taking a look at the comments here, one of the ones that I thought was pretty well spot on of what's going on was this one here. It's like comments have been pointing out the absurdity of the console wars and starting to lead to personal attacks of Phil Spencer. And it's kind of cool how passionate this is, but it seems like it's a little bit bigger than just console wars. I mean, we're talking about the lives of about 2,000 people here, and kind of begs the question of whether these types of redundancies are common, and if costs of mergers and acquisitions on real humans is worth it, or if there's some other systemic issues. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think this is difficult. I mean, I think there's a valid point here with like when companies that get acquired, they eliminate redundancies, right?
Yeah.
That's the comment you were looking at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I personally think, and this is probably the um non-human side of me that just says like it's business. Like that's a really dumb way to say it, but like that is business. Like a business is there to make money.
Mhm.
And a lot of people think that like businesses have this obligation to, you know, provide phenomenal resources and culture and care for the employee. But like it's a mutual agreement, you know. And again, this is the non human side or empathetic side. But like it's an agreement between two parties, right? The employee and the employer. They agree upon a price to be paid, and they agree upon like, hey, this is the work to be done, and if there's reason why, we will cut you from the program, you know. And if an employee doesn't like the agreement, then the idea is they can leave themselves and cut ties with the company. Now, with that being said, I do think that's like obviously very robotic and transactional. Um, and I don't necessarily think that's ethical because we're dealing with human lives, right?
Mhm.
I think there is potentially like this culture with big tech of, you know, laying off in order to hit certain KPIs for their stocks. Um, I think we all know that. If you've ever worked in business, everyone kind of knows that. I just don't know ways to combat that. You know, where's the accountability? Like, how do you hold uh, C-suite executives accountable for quote overhiring or selling their company to a larger company, you know, and then there's layoffs. I don't know. I just if I do I think that's systemic. I don't necessarily think it's systemic problems, but like I think it's a culture problem. But again, like I don't think maybe it's not necessarily a problem. I think that's just how business works, right? Like I was a part of this, you know, I was a part of this in 2023 where the company was shifted to another company and there were redundancies and my team was part of the cutting. So like I understand it, you know, but it's tough as an employee when you see the company doing well and you've been performing well, but then there's still like a riff, you know, you still get punished. Um, that's tough. Like my only thought is the way to reward employees who were good, but they were still fired due to redundancies of like an acquisition is hopefully they had some kind of equity. And if they didn't have equity, hopefully they get some really good severance, you know?
Mhm.
Like that's the only thought I have. But I don't know if that answered your question. Hopefully it did.
No, I think those are some good points. You know, it it's kind of like a really fine balancing act here. I mean,
Yeah.
on the one end, you bring up some good points about a company, needing to, at the end of the day, this is a publicly traded company. Their goal is to make their shareholders money. That is
Yeah.
their number one goal. Anything that deviates from that goal, um, is not fair to their shareholders. I mean, they're supposed to be making money. And so you got to balance that. And if you've got redundancies, it doesn't make sense to keep funding those redundancies at the expense of making money. And then you've got the other side where there's actually human lives that this affects. And um, you know, maybe the only way to make all people happy is finding a different solution other than laying off would be the only way. Um, I mean, I know I've seen other companies where they have, um, I guess, punished the leaders, and rather than laying off people, they've scaled back the salary of C-suite. I think that that is an interesting solution to that, um, as a way. I mean, obviously, the C-suite are the ones that are the leadership of the organization. So why should they punish other people for just following that leadership? And I've
Yeah.
seen other companies that have just sold off divisions, which I guess is another way of laying off people, but um, selling off divisions rather than laying off specific jobs. So I think there may have been some other ways that they could have combat or gotten to the solution that they wanted to. However, it's just kind of something that we've seen as a trend here in the last couple of years with big tech companies laying off significant amounts of workforce.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to make a comment and then ask you a question.
Okay.
So my comment is like, very rarely have I seen an executive take account, like true accountability. And what I mean is often you'll see some type of publicity stunt where they say they take ownership for the layoffs due to poor decisions, but they're still getting paid out their bonus. They're still getting paid out in stocks or whatever it might be. No, there's no real negative impact on them. And very rarely have I seen executives, take a cut from their bonus. But even then, the question comes to mind: is that what portion of your whole pay compensation package is that bonus? If it's like a $60,000 bonus or a $600,000 bonus, and you have like a $2 million salary, but then you're getting a ton of stock, like 10 million in stock, and your layoffs bumped up the stock. Like, is that really that impactful?
Mhm.
Whatever it might be. But my question to you is this. We see this culture with companies and capitalism of like the priority is to make money and to grow the company and to become bigger and wealthier, right? Um, and they do that by creating some type of product or service. What do you think would happen if companies decided to stop focusing? Maybe there was a mind shift. Uh, they stopped focusing on growing their wealth and they just started focusing on solely providing the best product or service in their area of expertise.
Ooh.
Or do you think both of those coincide?
Um, I think that if a company were to shift focus from building wealth and making money to creating the best product, shifting all of their focus on that product, I think that they would find um, a reciprocal effect that their wealth and money would increase as a result of doing um, rather than trying to um, just create wealth and creating somewhat mediocre products. I think by creating better products, their brand would grow better. Um, which I think though, like looking at Apple for this, maybe maybe controversial to what I'm saying, because I think Apple was earlier was really focused on making great products
Yeah.
through like the 2000s,
Yeah.
extremely focused on making good products. And then since Tim Cook has moved on, we've kind of seen a shift of um, while they still make good products, not focusing so much on that and more focusing on the wealth because they have their business has grown tenfold, being one of the top tech companies in the world. So
Yeah.
I think that I think Apple has gone away from that, but yet has still been able to generate a lot of.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the more I think about it, the more I think maybe it's like a life cycle of maybe it's a life cycle of your business. When you're new and starting out in the market, you're solely focused on providing the best product and service, trying to disrupt the industry, trying to gain market share, trying to gain followers, customers. You're just trying to get a name for yourself. So you're pumping everything into the product or service that you're providing.
Mhm.
And then once you get market share over the years, I feel like businesses will gain this maturity and they'll realize, hey, we have a brand for ourselves where we're known in the market and we're pretty big players here. We don't necessarily need to be pumping too much into our product or service anymore because we have the brand. Now we can trim the fat and start milking.
Mhm.
And I think we see that a lot with the big tech, right?
Yeah.
We see that a lot with the big tech. And it's unfortunate because we used to have massive innovation with the big tech, and now we see innovation, we do, but it's like overpriced. It's
Yeah.
overpriced innovation. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's not as disruptive as it was before, in my opinion. Um, and we see that with like the Vision Pros, right? And
Yeah.
we'll use Apple again. The Vision Pros, innovative, yes. New idea, no. Disruptive, not really. We have like Meta Quest. We had Microsoft HoloLens concept, Google Glass, right?
Mhm.
We've talked about these already. And so, is it innovative? Sure. Is it expensive? Yeah. Like
Yeah.
average consumer, probably not going to buy that, or they will buy it and they're just going to leverage debt.
Yeah.
Bad debt, not good debt. And so I just think, the more I think about it, maybe that's the company, that's like a business life cycle, but it kind of makes you wonder, what would happen if all the companies just kind of reverted back to that startup stage of let's just focus solely on being innovative and experts in our area and see what happens.
Yeah.
Make sure we're profitable or at least growing to be profitable, but not try and milk things out.
Exactly. So, and yeah, this brings up some interesting comments or an interesting dialogue. So continue the comments. What do you all think? Put them in the comments below. What do you think of Microsoft's actions and how they're handled? All right, Ben, what do you have for us tonight?
All right. I am going to talk about, we were just talking about the Vision Pros. I'm actually going to pull that up right now. Let me share my screen just a sec here. All right. Do this. All right. So the Vision Pros were released. All right. So iFixit pulls the Vision Pro apart. They expose the connectors, screens, fans. You can watch the video on YouTube. It's pretty cool. If you know iFixit, for viewers, they do a lot of Apple repairs on your phones, on your watches, other Apple devices. That's kind of their thing. So they are taking the Vision Pros and tearing them down and seeing like, hey, can we repair this if need be? How do we repair it? What's the situation here? And if you aren't aware, for viewers, there was a pretty large lawsuit against Apple in the past about the being able to provide consumers with the right to repair. And previously, Apple did not allow or adequately enable consumers or third parties to repair their products. And so there's a big lawsuit on this right to repair. And obviously, iFixit is a huge benefactor of that because now they're able to provide their services to the market much easier. But it's a pretty interesting article. They kind of talk about different things. Like for example, the Vision Pro's eyesight seems like a repair Achilles heel. So many points of failure for a slightly creepy feature. So they kind of break it down, and they talk about how things, Teardown's getting wild. It's kind of fun. I recommend watching it if you haven't yet. But if we go to the comments, I have the comments here. Boom. There's a few comments I thought were valid. And Ethan, I wanted to get your insight on this. Let's see if it loads. This one here, Brian, this is about the right to repair. I'm curious if the hardcore right to repair crowd has a line where technology is so complex that consumers simply should not have an expectation that they should be able to attempt to fix a device without voiding the warranty, because this feels very close, right? So again, that goes back to the right to repair without like having any issues with Apple and their warranty. I can't imagine myself going in and trying to repair my Vision Pros. I think that's over the top for me. But I would expect the ability to go to someone besides Apple, like having a third party.
Mhm.
So I personally don't really feel like there's a point or a valid argument here from Brian, because right to repair doesn't necessarily mean the specific consumer, but anyone, even a third party who's much more tech savvy, can provide a service to repair. That's my thought, at least.
Yeah, I,
What do you think?
I would tend to agree with you because, like, I mean, for me, I kind of agree with some of it. Like, yes, this is very complex for an average consumer, that they might not be able to repair it themselves. However, there may be a third party out there that is trained and is ready and able to fix this, that isn't an Apple employee or a subsidiary,
Yeah.
to where they could repair it for others. And if Apple were to make it in such a way that even they could not repair it, I think that goes against the right to repair. Um, Very similar to how like these electric vehicles are now. I mean, a lot of people aren't able to do it on their own because these high voltage battery packs on them, it becomes like inherently dangerous to work
Mm.
on your cars with them. However, there still are other um, people who have enough training that could still work on it, and the ability to repair that and not have to necessarily go to the manufacturer for those repairs, I think is very important, and gets right to the heart of what a consumer's right to repair this.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a response here that I was showing that I think is valid. This person here, it says, I'm here. Oh my gosh, what a complex piece of tech. And this is sarcasm. So I guess Apple is right to make it non-repairable. I will give up my fundamental right for Apple. And then they kind of go on just to say like, hey, this is not actually that complicated. We have the tech. HoloLens is, they have a comparison with HoloLens. And just kind of makes it interesting. Like, sure, just because it's so complex doesn't mean there's no that the right to repair is uh, should be removed or uh, non-applicable. But that's my thought.
Yeah,
I agree with this response.
I agree with it as well. Um, I think, you know, everyone has the right to repair their own products, and just because you're repairing it should not void the warranty at all. Otherwise, um, what's the point of even getting the product or getting it fixed? It just creates an area where we have more e-waste.
Yeah.
Aren't able to fix it properly.
Yep.
I like it. I think I yeah, I think this is pretty cool. iFixit. What they have been able to do and um, to shift our culture in a way that Apple has had to change their stance on this and give more tools to the consumer to repair their product. Even though I think Apple's kind of done it the Apple way, and they've hidden all the tools behind a significant paywall anyway. They provide you with the tools, but you have to pay them a significant amount of money just to be able to use those tools.
I have another article if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, let's go for it.
The new Tesla Model 3, the refresh. You
Oh,
know about this?
yes. I
I
I
Go
really
ahead.
want one.
Go. Okay.
Seeing the look of it, I'm like, oh, I would really love to trade mine in for this one.
Okay. So I don't know much about the differences. Do you know much about the differences? Just because.
I do because I'm a complete geek and
Okay.
I've nerded out about this.
Oh, so the differences between the Model 3 refresh 2024 versus previous. Tell me about it because I don't know
Okay.
much about it.
So I think overall, like the best way that I can describe this is a significant refinement, and taking everything good and making it better.
Okay.
So just taking a look at the outside, the um, it's it's been changed slightly enough to make it a little more sleek, and a little more sporty, I would say. Um, Headlights have been changed a little bit. Some of the design language of the front, as well. Looking at the back, one of the cool things that I think are a little controversial, is the way the lights are attached to the tailgate. Instead of having, so in the original Model 3, there was a split headlight design where once the trunk or boot lifted up. Part of the headlights would go with the trunk and the other would stay on the car. Now with the new Model 3, the entire light is connected to the trunk as it lifts up, which I think looks really cool. However, I don't know if repairability is going to be any easier. It might be more of a pain now that that's there. That's neither here nor there. But then like going on to the interior, now all the windows have double pane glass to help with road noise and make it a little bit quieter. There's more speakers now in it, so, and 2 subwoofers, so you've got a better surround sound system within there, a more immersive sound.
I did hear about that.
And it's got a some interior lighting now, which is really cool, and you can change the interior lighting.
Oh, ambient lighting, set the
Yeah.
mood.
There's now a stockless design, so there's no stocks on the Model 3. You control like your signals from the steering wheel, and you shift using the UI on the touchscreen.
Wow, that's really interesting. I don't know how I feel about that.
Allegedly,
I do like analog buttons, to be honest.
yeah, allegedly, the car is smart enough to determine whether you need to be in drive or reverse, and will automatically do that for you, allegedly.
I don't know about that. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. Like, I heard Elon talking about how it figures this out, because the computer will remember how you got into a parking spot. Like if you were in drive to get into that parking spot, the next time you get in, obviously you're going to want to reverse, come out of it, and vice versa.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it'll kind of and based on the cameras, it'll kind of determine what you need for the situation. But yeah, like looking at it, it seems like all of the things that were kind of nitpicky things about the original Model 3 design that weren't necessarily bad, but kind of like things that we wanted just to be better, it seemed like they have addressed that here with the new Model 3.
Yeah. So I didn't watch the video, but I saw there's a YouTuber, Autofocus is the YouTube channel.
Mark, yes.
Do you know Autofocus?
Yes.
Okay, so then you probably, maybe you've seen this video already, but I can share my screen. But essentially did like a review on the before and after, like the previous and the current. And you know, I was watching tidbits of it, but I'm glad you kind of gave that high level overview, because I didn't really have enough time to go through the entire video. But like almost everyone is saying how much of an improvement it is, and they're like, "Oh, I wanted the Model S, but now I'm kind of rethinking that." You know,
Yeah.
like feel like Tesla had a slam dunk with this one. Feel so refreshed. Got mine 6th of December in Sweden. White interior. It's a big difference, you know. Wasn't much of a fan of the old Model 3, but new Model 3 is complete. You know, it's like across the board, people are just really excited about it. This one, I'm looking forward to see these changes on the Model Y, you know. So like they're excited about these changes. They're hoping it goes across the board. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting how they, you know, update it. I mean, we see this every once in a while, not every once in a while, but we see this with vehicles, you know, like Nissan, they like updated their Frontier, Toyota will update their vehicles. But I don't think we've necessarily seen it yet with an EV, because they haven't been in the market for as long, right?
Yeah. I mean, we saw a bit of a refresh with the Model Y and the Model X a few years ago. It was similar.
Oh, that's right.
That was kind of like the biggest change we've had in EV since EVs have been really more mainstream. I guess I wouldn't say they're really mainstream right now, but they're they're moving toward that.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of nice to see, you know, Tesla taking a look at. I To me, this vehicle seems like they've taken a lot of community feedback, started to implement those things for it.
Yeah,
And
I agree. Oh, sorry, go ahead,
yeah,
finish.
yeah, I think it's just one of the few things uh, where they've actually taken that feedback and made something good of it, rather than just completely ignoring it and doing something that they want to do, like they're like a science experiment, which I would say their
Yeah.
Cybertruck is a science experiment.
Yeah. I saw a Cybertruck off the freeway in the Tesla dealership, and I was like, oh my gosh, there it is in real life.
Oh, you
Can't
saw it
believe
in the
it.
wild.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, it was wild. It was pretty crazy to see. But I agree. And what this reminds me of is not necessarily like a new model or like a new type of model. Like it's not like the Toyota Camry of 2020 versus the Toyota Camry of 2024. You know what I mean? It kind of reminds me of like, hey, we have this product like maybe like almost like a software. Like, hey, you're using Adobe and let's like get user feedback, community feedback. Okay, let's make software updates to Adobe, you know? And I feel like Tesla was like, let's collect feedback from users and just enhance the product we already have instead
Yeah.
of coming up with like, all right, what's the new design? What are the new angles? What are the lights going to look like? What's like how many seats is it going to have? You know, what's the style of the seating? No, they didn't. They kept what's good, and they just kind of built on top of it, which I like.
Yeah.
I think that's a different approach to it than what other car makers do.
Mhm.
Because I have a friend who he used to be a designer for Toyota, and they wouldn't take any like community feedback when designing the Toyota. They would have multiple design teams, and they're just pumping out designs and submitting them. And once they get approval of the design, then they have to build like a small clay model. Then they do a life-size clay model, and they do like a life-size model with like physical product besides clay. And it's all like futuristic, or maybe not futuristic, but like new design that's just created. It's not
Mhm.
necessarily like user feedback. And I like how Tesla kind of said, let's revamp like a little bit of the design, but it's going to be based on more of the community, which is
Yeah.
cool. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a very familiar to how the Model 3 was. And now, like, based on what they've done with this, I think it's almost like they want the Model 3 to be one of their flagship vehicles.
Yes.
I mean, which is different from like what a lot of other companies have done. Usually, like they make their most expensive product their flagship. And I definitely think the Model S has been one of their flagships, but where the Model 3 is more affordable to a lot more people, it's going to be out there a lot more. And so making this vehicle that everybody sees um, as kind of like what Tesla represents, I think is an extremely smart move. And I think they've done a wonderful job of how they've designed it. The design language very is unique while still maintaining a lot of familiar features. Um,
Yeah.
and it's going to get a lot of attention in such a way that I think it'll bring people into the brand of a Tesla.
Cool. When do you think the other models will get their update? Do they have like a timeline on that?
Um, based from what, like, just looking at how the Model S was handled a couple of years ago, the Model X was not very far off from doing that because I mean the Model S and the Model X are very similar on like their body style, and same with the Model Y and the Model 3. Like they pretty much have a lot of the same features of the body, um, and how the car is designed. And so I would think that it wouldn't be too long for the Model Y to receive some of these same um, changes and refreshes. Um, but I haven't heard any rumors um, about the Model Y getting a refresh like this, like I did with the Model 3 or the Model S or Model X.
Mhm.
And so, you know, based on the fact that I haven't heard very many rumors, I would think it may be like 6 months to a year before Model Y receives the same treatment.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'd like to see what the refreshes would be like with all of them. Because offline, you and I were talking about the Model Y. For anyone who's listening, I went to the mall today and sat in one with my kids, a Model Y, and I sold my truck recently, and it made me think, wow, this might be doable for me and my kids. So, like, do I buy one now? Do I wait? Do I wait to see if there's a refresh coming up? I don't know. So who knows? But it definitely piques my interest. So
Yeah, pretty cool stuff here. And I think like the Model 3 is a great thing that they've done as opposed to like how they've handled the Cybertruck, which is such just a stark, um, astonishing thing when you see it. And I don't think the functionality of it works very well as a truck or as a vehicle.
yeah, I'm with you on that. The Cybertruck, it's just such a hard thing for me. So I switched I'm on the internet right now, and I'm like my screen's switching colors based on like the photo it's showing. Because I was just looking at the Cybertruck just now on the Tesla website, so my face went blue. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't know how functional it is. I personally can't get past the design. Some people love it, but besides the design, it's so heavy, and I wonder how capable it really is off road, and um, yeah, it just really makes me question: was this experiment smart?
I mean, yeah, like I've watched a lot of reviews of the Cybertruck, and um, I think like parts of it are really cool. I mean, they have this new steer by wire um, function, and it's very fluid and works very well. That makes the truck really nimble for how long of a wheelbase it is. But just because of the design, I've heard a lot of people say that the visibility of it is terrible, um, to the point where it is almost dangerous to drive,
Oh wow.
just because of the A pillars, how big they are, and their placement. There are a lot of blind spots where there shouldn't be blind spots.
Yeah, interesting. That's really interesting.
And like because of the construction of the material and the steel that they use, um, the edges of like the doors are sharp enough that they can um, peel a carrot.
Oh, whoa.
So, and there's where the front trunk is, there's not any sensors, like pinch sensors. So, like you've seen people like popping off carrots as the front trunk comes down.
Jeez,
So,
that's crazy. A little
yeah,
scary.
yeah. So, I mean, like for a lot of that, like I like some of the features that they put into the truck, but just for some of like the visibility um, and everything, I'm probably steering away from the first gen Cybertruck for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, probably smart. Probably smart. One of our friends drives a Camaro, and when he first got it, because it's so like low and the hood is low, and like the windows aren't very big. It's kind of like I don't know if this is the right shape. I think it's kind of like a trapezoid hood where it's like angled and then flat. And because it's so narrow and thin and the windows aren't very big, he's like, dude, it just feels like you're driving inside like a really small fighter jet cockpit, like minimal visibility in this thing, you know? It's like not a lot of window space, not a lot of windows at all, and very narrow angles, he said. So I assume the Tesla truck, based on design, is probably what it's like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Probably similar. And especially like here in California, you need visibility. People are just
Yep,
doing anything they can to get there.
yep, yep. Well, that's all I have for tonight, Ethan. I don't know
All
if you have
right.
anything else.
That's all I've got for tonight as well. Want to thank all of you for sticking with us and for watching our episode. So if you liked it, give us a thumbs up. That really helps our channel. If you didn't like it, that other button seems to work all right. Make sure you send it to somebody you dislike. As always, ring-a-ling that ding-ling button so you never miss any content as it's posted on the channel. Until next time, have a great evening, stay classy, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.